Friends, I'm Annie Botticelli, and welcome to my Leo November 2025 Astrology Horoscope forecast. Well, in this report, I'm going to help you see what life will be like for Leo in November and give you all of the information I think that you will need to help make it the best month possible. This is for you if Leo is your sun sign, your moon sign, your rising sign, or any other Leo placement you're listening for. What I'm going to talk about here is part of your astrological picture. Very late degree Leo friends, so birthdays like August 15th through the rest of the sign, or 23 degree placements of Leo through the rest of the sign, I suggest you additionally listen to my Virgo report, as you very late degree friends will benefit from both readings. Now, the general theme of this month I'm calling the Lantern and the Labyrinth, because our two zodiac stars this month are Scorpio, the Labyrinth, and Sagittarius, the Lantern. So we've got that maze of emotional deep dive coming from Scorpio. That's making a stressed angle to Leo, which means that you've got some deep soul searching to do within your home, family, housing sector. The pressure could be on, or perhaps the pressure is on in a great way. Maybe you're making plans to move, or maybe your family size is increasing, or something notable is occurring. So when there's a pressured point, it doesn't always mean bad outcomes. It just means that it's a growing pain, and there is a lot of that going on for Leo at this time from the perspective of the Scorpio. But then we've got this major fire Sag party that's going to uplift, bring creative solutions, make the most wonderful aspect possible to all of your Leo placements if you have more than one, and just, bring the fire in an awesome way. So we've got an awesome counterbalance here. There are so many other things to discuss this month as well. I just want to welcome you if you're a new listener to my channel. I'm Annie Botticelli. I'm an astrologer. I've been doing astrology for over 20 years. I've been on YouTube for a very long time as well. I think my 13-year anniversary is around now. And my intention is to not only tell you the energetics that you'll be working with, to understand what life will be like to be a Leo for the given month we're talking about, but also to tell you why, so that you can learn a little bit more about astrology and understand yourself better and understand the stars better. I am going to give you a lot of dates throughout this report, important things to note. You may want to have a calendar nearby. You could always re-listen if you don't. But if you want to have more dates, including my full monthly written star report with all of the sweet and salty dates to note for this month, then grab your free star report at anniehelpsyou.com. That is free, and you can go to anniehelpsyou.com to get more info about this month. But we still have plenty to talk about here. All right, so let's rewind this a little bit, do a couple of things. I want to tell you three very important things about this month that will kind of lay the foundation here as we build up our storyline of what your experience may be like. The first thing to know is we're out of eclipse season, so the tension, the pressure, the drama, the trajectory shifts, the sudden jostling news that was really starting to heat up end of July into August, full on in September with kind of like a hangover into October. We're now free of that. Okay, so that is one checkpoint that is very positive for this month and different. Something else that's great is that for a few months we had more salty, as I like to call the challenged aspects, compared to sweet ones. And that set sort of a nuisance ratio for the month of a lot of road bumps. But this month we have more sweet aspects compared to salty. And of course there will be those road bumps along the way, but the ease is outweighing the challenges from the general chart perspective. And then the last thing to know is that we are in a Mercury retrograde month. October 21st started the pre-retrograde transit shadow period for Mercury. November 9th, it officially goes retrograde. November 29th, it officially goes direct. And the post-shadow transit period goes until December 17th. So, if you follow my tidal analogy, where when the personal planets, Mercury, Mars, and Venus, are free from personal retrogrades and their shadow periods, that is a time when we have open stars. So until October 21st, that's what we have had, where the tides were going out. So you on the beach, or you in your life, could launch your big ship of dreams, look to the future, see further ahead to try to make plans, and have more clarity about decision making without having the mischief of the retrogrades. That was also a time to be the spider and make as many webs as possible for your food, for the things that you want to have coming in. Now, as of October 21st, the tides have reversed. They're coming in. And now is the time for you to wait on the shore and see what the tides bring to you instead of trying to conjure or push things out to sea. These analogies that I use are to help you understand the energetics so that you can apply them to your specific circumstances, because I try to speak to different circumstances that I commonly get questions about in the reports, but everybody has their unique experience and your unique chart with everything hitting off in your unique way. So I try to give you these energetic understandings so that you can apply them regardless of what your particular manifestations are. All right. So all of November is basically the time to be the spider and wait in your web for food to come to you, unless, of course, if there's an emergency and you literally have to get food. I'm not meaning that emergency situation. I'm just meaning figuratively, the things that you have already put in place, just kind of monitor those things. Let the things come to you. See how the things you're doing are working. If you have to touch up your webs, do a little editing, fixing up, things like that, this month is great for that. But if you try to go and weave too many more webs in all these different areas, or you try to push things out on the tides, everything will come right back to you, and it will result in frustration. So my goal is to help you not have that typical Mercury retrograde frustration by noticing the areas that are naturally flowing and aligning with those, with your efforts, and the areas that aren't, to just sort of take a little step back and let some things become more clear, before you try to force anything. I have an analogy I like to use for a car making a U-turn that will now and forevermore help you better understand retrograde transits and help explain some of the jargon that you may hear with the shadow period and all of this. So if you just give me a minute here to explain this, I promise it's going to set you up to have the best month possible, and even before this month and after this month, with these dates I have here, for now and for every Mercury retrograde to come. And we do spend half of our lives in Mercury retrograde, so the more you understand it, the more ease you can have. Mercury retrograde is a time when all of that fast forward, trying to look so far ahead, being, into all of these things, trying to push all these things to happen, that comes to a halt, and we get to regain balance into the present moment. Present moment awareness. What is happening at this moment that we need to deal with? The car has been making a weird noise. Okay, rather than trying to force the thing that is not working every time you try it, go take the car in, that kind of thing. There's a squeaky wheel, or there's, something that wants oil, and it's going to become louder during this month. So just tend to that, and then just try to not put too much effort into things that really aren't working out. And so with the car analogy, when you're trying to make a U-turn, you realize October 21st, I got to make a U-turn. You're having to slow down while the traffic is still speeding up, still going full speed. You have to cross lanes. There's a lot of awkwardness. That's what you'll feel October 21st or November 9th. The days around the 9th is when you get to the median and you're trying to position yourself exactly so to be free of being clipped from the front of your car, being clipped from the back of your car, from this fast-moving traffic on both sides. It's awkward, so be extra careful around those days. Then from the 9th to the 29th, you're just hanging out in the median, waiting for a chance to get back into traffic. Now, during that time you're waiting in the median, if you're all frustrated and aggravated that there's no pocket to jump into, you'll have a more frustrating Mercury retrograde. If you hang out, listen to your podcast you like, listen to your, music that you like, and just wait for the perfect time to reveal itself without forcing, then you will have an easier retrograde. So this is kind of like a tale of two hanging out times in the median. You could have it one way or the other way, and this is going to apply towards your Mercury retrograde time, which is this whole month. Then at the days around the 29th, you have your opening, you're getting back into traffic, but you're going slow and everyone else is going fast. It's a little dangerous. It's a little chaotic. It's a little stressful. Then you start getting back up to speed. By December 17th, you're back up to speed with the flow of traffic. And that's going to be the flow. So now that we know all of this and you understand that we're looking at the month through this lens, we can go deeper. Venus is going to get into Scorpio early in the month. The sun is already there. Mars is there for just a few days. We've got the new moon in Scorpio on November 19th at 28 degrees. All of this Scorpio energy is bringing a strong focus on the mystery, the inner realms, the deep reservoirs of emotion that we have within us, that we have connected to other people, intimacy, power, topics having to do with financial merging, taxes, credits, debt, you know, insurance, inheritances, winning money, investing money. All of those topics are going to be so strong at this time. We started this focus in October. It's very strong in November. And, you know, that will continue with Venus in Scorpio a bit into December as well. Now, all of this Scorpio energy lights up your fourth house of home and housing. So expect your home, housing, real estate, your inner world, ancestry, genetics, your inner psychology, your childhood psychology that has echoed out to your experiences as an adult. All of this is going to be happening this month. So life for a Leo this month is going to have a lot of emotional intensity. You're going to be seeing and feeling this. And people close to you may be going through things. You may be holding space for them while they go through things. Or you may be going through it together. Your spouse or your significant other or a family member may be having something very big going on. And you're just kind of sitting there and you're affected by it and you're helping them. And maybe you're not the one going through it. Maybe they are, but it's still affecting you. You know, it's a very, very connected emotionally type of energy. And this makes a square for Leo. So it is going to put out some of your fire. All of this water energy is going to put out some of your fire. But it will also give the chance for steam, which makes productivity, which is also the nature of Scorpio and Sag with the water and the fire making this steam. So it can be very productive and very effective and you can get a lot done. But there is that force of resistance that is occurring here and there may be some growing pains. Okay, so now let's get on to the Sag party now that we know all of this. Oh, by the way, if in your money reevaluations and conversations that you're having this month, if you have to make some big decisions, you may, if you intuitively feel right to wait, you know, if it's in the flow to wait a little bit, you may have an easier time cementing in long-term details as December progresses and you get closer to or past this December 17th date. This month is a really good time for researching and analyzing and figuring out things and discussing and looking at different scenarios and hypotheticals and you know, investigating possibilities. But as for the actual decision making, if it's a long-term binding contractual thing, you may have some better energy, you know, moving into the second half of December. Okay, so then the Sun will get to Sag. Mars very quickly will get to Sag. Lilith is there. Mercury retrograde in Sag, back into Scorpio. Juno, Vesta, Estrella in Sagittarius. All fire signs, all best aspect possible for Leo, fire party, yay. You may notice at this time of every year, you get lit up with excitement and joy and creativity and inspiration. You feel active, you feel ready to do things. And if you just remember that the things that you're doing in this Mercury retrograde may be shorter term than expected. If you're not attached to the outcome, if you're experimenting, if you're just creating for creation's sake, all of that is free and open. And this is your creativity sector. So all the Sag energy lights up your fifth house of Leo. Creation and leadership and being out where people can see you and shining bright like a sunflower, a mammoth sunflower for everybody to walk past in awe. You know, this is what you bring, your special gifts, and they're all lit up. This is also the house of children, romance, true love. So there can be a lot of action there. If you're dating, maybe going back to someone you dated in the past or someone who's, you know, you had considered dating, you know, things going that have a tie into the past may be better this month than trying to do too much new, unless the new thing is something you're not attached to or you're not looking for long-term situations. But do remember that Mercury is going to be doing its retrograde Mercury retrograde goggles thing, as I like to call it, where you might not be seeing clearly. So just be extra careful because important information may be withheld at this time. And that could be very relevant if you're on the dating scene or something having to do with, you know, a romantic partner. So there is still a lot of hidden information, and Scorpio energy is going to be making people want to keep secrets at this time. And they may be secrets that you really need to know. So just kind of follow your flow with that. This is a fantastic time for creating anything and for, you know, for musicians and artists and speakers and dancers and fashionistas and, you know, just anything that is just out there where people can see and appreciate. This is a really great time. This is also a great time to do things you've always wanted to do. We are working with a retrograde kind of overhang here, but it doesn't mean you can't do fun stuff. You can travel in Mercury retrograde, but just remember that plans tend to change. So getting things like cancel for any reason, insurance, you know, or double checking your gate for your plane leaving. And, you just have to do a little bit extra work at this time with some travel things to make sure that there aren't mix-ups. But it could be a great time to travel, and you may be going somewhere you've always wanted to go. All right, I'm going to give you some more dates now. All right, the next important date is November 5th. And this is going to be the full supermoon at 13 degrees of Taurus. Fullness, completion, fruition, drama coming to the earth, the material realm of your individual finances. The Scorpio is your joint finances. The Taurus is your individual money and your budget and your savings and your earnings and your self-worth about money. All of that's coming to fullness really the first 10 days of the month, because we build up here onto the 5th, and then a few days after you'll feel, kind of the shift from that. So something might be hidden that wants to come out. Something you've been working on may be accomplished. If you are a maker, this is a maker moon for sure. For people who make things with their hands, this is an amazing time for creation. Gardens, anything where you get your hands and feet in the earth, or anything having to do with material things, expensive items, material items. Something notable is happening here. Now, specifically for Leo placements, you have your Taurus energy. So this full moon is going to happen for you in the 10th house of work and career, employment. So maybe you're getting cast into the limelight. Maybe your work's getting appreciated. Maybe there's drama at work. Maybe you're fired or hired or promoted, or, something goes on. There's something that comes out. Maybe a secret comes out at work. Something is coming out at this full moon. It is a supermoon. The third in a row will be October, November, December. So this is the second of 3 supermoons that are full moons. And, that means the gravitational effects can be stronger. It's closer to the earth. It may look bigger depending on where you are. So, yeah, something happening in your place out in the world. If you're not employed or you don't need to be employed, this can have to do with a special personal project that you have. If you're involved in community efforts or something that puts you out of that, out in the world, your work, your process, your gardening club, your, just something that you're doing outside of your quiet, like where no one can see you area. This is, your place where people can see you doing whatever you're doing. So something's happening there. Next important date is the 11th is when Jupiter goes retrograde. So Jupiter has been blazing forward in Cancer through your house of intuition, spiritual breakthroughs, psychological expansion. And you might have had massive strides to your intuition, your body knowing, your dream time since June, maybe even a few months before then, April, May, June. This world has been expanding for you. Jupiter is in the sign of Cancer, so that rules home, family, housing, real estate. So that's another line of energy having to do with that sector of your chart, which we were talking about before with the Scorpio placements. But it's moving through your 12th house. And this 12th house is your subconscious mind. It's your greatest fears and it's your greatest gifts. It's the addictions and it's the accomplishment of pushing through and winning against, your inner demons. So it's a pretty exciting, very sacred, special, private place. And the changes from this expansion of Jupiter from June of this year until June of next year may be very personal to you and not as obvious to other people. But whatever has been going on, it starts to slow down now for 4 months now that Jupiter is going to be retrograde. And that may be helpful for you. Maybe you get a little bit of a break from the constant psychological healing. But if there was some momentum and you see it slowing down, don't worry. Jupiter builds skyscrapers, and whenever it's in retrograde, it checks the foundation to make sure it's strong enough to go as high as it's supposed to be going here. Okay, so you may feel like something is slowing down here. Maybe from Mercury retrograde, you're feeling certain things slow down, but Jupiter is also going to start slowing some things down. Now, at the same time as those things are slowing down, on the 27th, Saturn goes direct. So there may be certain areas of your life that start to speed up. Saturn rules that 10th house where that full moon is going to be for you. So again, that points towards possibly something in career or employment or a passion project moving forward this month, even in the midst of all of this retrograde energy. With Jupiter going retrograde and Mercury in retrograde, those are two signals that our big long-term plans may need to be kind of tamed at the moment, or just kind of put on a shelf as we work on some other foundational details. It doesn't mean you're abandoning them or giving up hope or not working on them. It just means you may have some other things to take care of before you can get back to having the clarity that you need for those bigger long-term dreams. Now, on that new moon on the 28th that we talked about in Scorpio, we also have a sweet aspect with Mercury trining Neptune. So it's an especially dreamy, romantic, spiritual time around the days around the 19th, that new moon. You may have some special extra insights, especially meaningful dreams. And really the whole time that Jupiter is in your 12th house can enhance your connection with your subconscious mind, so your dream space can be more valuable for your healing and just for your interest, lucid dreaming, things like that. But the days around this new moon may also kick that into overdrive. My favorite aspect of the month, and one of my favorite aspects of all time really, is happening on the days around the 26th. This is Venus trining Jupiter. Venus in Scorpio making the best angle possible to Jupiter in Cancer. Again, this is water. These are emotional connections. They're spiritual breakthroughs. They're, intimate awarenesses that help you to go deeper into your relationship space. They're familial healing and ancestral lightening of past load. It's really magical. And it can just also involve romance and love. It can involve money and income. It can involve self-esteem and confidence. But some kind of boost happens around those, the days around the 26th. Now, if you love the dates and you want more, make sure to go to anniehelpsyou.com. Go right now so you don't forget, and grab your free star report. You'll get it for November. You'll get it for every month to come. They're at anniehelpsyou.com. That's the VIP access. If you want to learn astrology, I have mini lessons there at Annie Helps You. When you register for your star report, you also get access to my archives of my mini lessons. But if you want to learn in a more comprehensive way, go to beastropro.com, beastropro.com, to see my astrology certification course. And if you want to get my take on the outer planets, these planets that take a long time to move and have major long-term themes in your chart, and the dates through which these happen for you, go to anniebclarity.com, Annie, the letter B, clarity.com, to see my personalized reports. I hope you have a wonderful month, and I'll see you next month. Bye.